Hi everyone, welcome back to AFTV and welcome to a Loan Report show. It is the end of the season, which means as well as the player ratings we did yesterday, well you'll see that on the channel with Turkish Sesson and Robbie and I, we've got to look at the players that haven't been with us this season, but they're still Arsenal players, they're still under the Arsenal umbrella, they're still players that are going to be coming back in the summer, and Mikel Arteta's got to decide what he's going to do with these players. Do they have a future? Do they not? Are they on their way out? Will they maybe get the summer to prove themselves? We're going to discuss all that and more. But of course, there's one player above all of them that I think we're very keen to know more about. I think we're very keen to discuss his future at Arsenal, not just the coming years, but I mean this very season coming up. Does he have a part to play with Europa League football? Yes, it's not the European football we wanted, but Europa League football back at Arsenal. It is that Thursday, Sunday schedule that we're going to have to be, I say worrying about, definitely contesting. So we've got to talk about William Saliba and discuss whether he does have a place in the first team. How does Arteta feel about it? And interestingly, you wouldn't believe it, just minutes before we sit to record this video, some really interesting quotes have come out from Mikel Arteta to RMC. Let me just read them out for you very, very quickly. He said, William Saliba has to come back. He has the experience to be competitive with us. We sent him to Marseille for his growth. William wanted to be a regular starter, as you know, but now we want him back at Arsenal. He follows on to say, if he had stayed with us this year, with a match a week, with White and Gabriel, he wouldn't have had half the playing time he's had with Marseille. He wasn't with us because he wouldn't have had the playing time to gain experience. That's it. There's nothing else. Now, William Saliba's future and how Arteta's felt about him since he's come in. We know he's had 3 loans. Saint-Etienne for half a season, well, full season. Then he went to Nice and then he went to Marseille for this last 12 months. There's always been this air of, how does Arteta feel about him? Does he not rate him? Is he just trying to build up his value? We know now he's been in the French squad only to sell him on, but Arteta's made it very clear it's all about giving him the experience and development he needs so he can come back and be competitive with Arsenal. So we're going to discuss Saliba, those quotes, Saliba's own quotes, his performances and more, and I'm here with Jonathan Johnson once again from CBS Sports. Jonathan, how you doing, mate?
Hey, very well, thanks. Great to be back on. Thank you for inviting me.
No, but great, honestly, everyone loved the show last time. You provided great insight. Of course, at the time, we were talking about Matteo Guendouzi as well as William Saliba. Guendouzi's deal's all done. I believe they've activated the permanent clause, or he's played the certain amount of games, can't remember quite what it was. So nothing to say there. We wish him the best of luck. But with William Saliba, there's definitely been a lot going on, a lot in the media. We knew there'd be a lot of speculation. Just very quickly, I didn't think we'd be starting with this today, but we are. What do you make of those quotes from Mikel Arteta?
Yeah, very interesting, and to be perfectly honest, quite logical. I think that dispensing of a player like Saliba without giving him a chance in the first team would have been quite short-sighted of Arsenal. It makes a lot of sense, especially when you bear in mind how well that loan spell with Marseille has gone, because he's been one of their key performers. He has been an integral part of that team that Sampaoli has built and ultimately enjoyed success with, given their Champions League qualification. You look at Saliba winning the Young Player of the Year award at the end of the season, and I don't really think that this loan spell could have gone, much better from an Arsenal point of view in terms of his development and his own. Yeah,
you've just highlighted there some key parts of this season, finishing second in Ligue 1, Young Player of the Year, semi-finalist in the Conference League, playing and being a regular and then getting his call up. I mean, it's been quite the 12 months for him. Let's build more on his performances for Marseille, but also the kind of football that Marseille play under Sampaoli. I remember watching Sampaoli's Chile side. He was the manager of Chile, wasn't he? They always entertained. What's kind of been his role in this Marseille team, and how's he done?
Well, Saliba has become one of the cornerstones of the team, certainly in terms of the way that the back line is shaped. Sampaoli's style of play, is always quite demanding of the players. There were fears that Marseille would, sort of run out of gas really in the last couple of weeks of the season. That going to the Europa Conference final was just a bridge too far. Unfortunately, it would have been great for French football, to have them in the final there, and perhaps Lyon in the final of the Europa League. Wasn't to be, and Saliba has ended the season as one of the most consistent performers in a team that looked like it was starting to wobble a little bit. So he's an old head on young shoulders. I'm sure that certain snippets of his season have certainly done the rounds on social media, like him with his tack on Kylian Mbappe, that sort of thing. But it hasn't just been certain moments where he's shown quality. He has been a consistent performer for Marseille, arguably their player of the season, certainly in my opinion. And I think he is now ready to take on that sort of leadership role that he's kind of been playing anyway with Marseille, whether he stays in France or whether he comes back to England. But I definitely think he's now reached that point of his development where it's either Arsenal decide to move him on, to cash in on him, or they actually try to bring him back and use him as part of the starting 11. And what I think is maybe interesting going into next season is that, Saliba has, had a taste of European action. Sure, not at the level that he'd want it to be at. He was talking recently about, his Champions League aspirations. That won't be possible with Arsenal. It would if he stayed with Marseille, but the reality is that Marseille just can't afford to go and buy him outright at the moment, even if Arsenal were willing to sell. And it sounds like Arteta has already made up his mind, definitely wants, to be able to call upon his services. And I think that, the expectation at Arsenal, the club, and certainly from Saliba, if he was to come back and be a gunner next season, would be to push for success in a competition like the Europa League.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on the fact that he could play Champions League football in Marseille. Some quotes did the rounds. The whole of Arsenal Twitter were absolutely stressing, as you can imagine, about the prospect of him basically announcing that he'd want to leave and go play Champions League football in Marseille. The quotes weren't quite that way. How did you interpret what he was saying and kind of what's been said since the end of the season?
Yeah, I don't think it was so much sort of an ultimatum, from Saliba, but I just think it was an expression, just of his feeling, because I certainly think that he bedded in well with this Marseille squad. They're definitely quite tight-knit. It's already going to be a big blow for them. They've lost Boubacar Kamara to my team, Aston Villa, in the Premier League. And then, to face losing Saliba as well would be a huge, huge blow. And I think, he would feel maybe a sense of slight injustice that he wouldn't be able to sort of test himself in the Champions League, having worked so hard with that OM side to earn their qualification for it. But also at the same time, Saliba, recognises that he isn't a permanent Marseille player. That Arsenal are his parent club, and certain decisions, could bring him back to London for next season. So I think it's more of a preference to play the highest possible quality of European football as soon as possible. Without basically saying that he absolutely wants that move to Marseille. I think if Arsenal said to him, we don't want you, we don't see a future for you, he would want that move to Marseille to be made permanent. But also at the same time, if Arteta's plans really are to involve him in the starting 11 from next season, I think he'll fancy that he can crack that and become a regular member of that starting 11. Absolutely.
I want to talk about Saliba. Really, in terms of the battle he's got next year, Arteta mentioned White and Gabriel himself, two centre-backs he has signed since he arrived at the club and spent a combined 77 million, I think. So, he's more than splashed the cash on centre-backs. Pablo Mari came in for about 10 mil as well. William Saliba, it's very hard to compare leagues and performances and levels and even, I don't even know Marseille versus Arsenal, who would come out on top. But he's got that battle with those other two centre-backs. How does he rank for you in terms of pure level? Do you think he starts in this Arsenal back four?
Having known Gabriel from his time with Lille, I think that he would pair quite well with him. But also, I don't watch Arsenal week in, week out the same way that you do, so
sure.
I wouldn't necessarily be able to judge White in the same way. But, I think that Saliba could be complementary to them. And I think any club of Arsenal stature, needs to have at least three central defenders of a very high quality, especially one that's going to be playing in any form of European competition next season. Do I think that he's got the quality to be a member of the starting 11 regardless of who he's up against? Yes, I do. We can't know what might happen next season. If a transfer offer comes in or somebody picks up an injury on international duty or in pre-season.
Of course.
But I think that it's now or never. It's make or break time for Saliba and also for Arteta in terms of whether he wants him or whether he doesn't. Because if pre-season comes along and I don't know, maybe Saliba doesn't feel like he's getting a fair crack of the whip, or Arteta's seen something and doesn't feel like he's necessarily going to be a part of the starting 11, then perhaps that move to Marseille can still be explored before the transfer window closes. But I think it's the right decision for Arsenal to bring him back to at least have a look at him. Despite the fact that I can understand why Saliba will want to stay at Stade Vélodrome in order to enjoy the Champions League with Marseille next season.
Am I right in thinking Sampaoli and Marseille played a back three at times?
I mean, it's there have been a variety of systems used, but it's never really actually had that much of a bearing on sort of where Saliba plays on the pitch. He's always very much central to the defence, sort of the rock that everything else at the back is built around. And I think he has shown himself to be arguably the most reliable presence in that starting 11, and that's why you've got Marseille so desperate to try and keep him, despite the fact that they're still waiting on that final verdict regarding a potential transfer ban. And like I said before, with Camara leaving on a free, that suddenly is a massive gaping hole in that side. And if Saliba was suddenly taken away from it as well, there's no guaranteeing that Marseille will be that much of a force in the Champions League. Obviously, we don't know what business they might do this summer, but it's already looking challenging, for Marseille to take this season's positive finish, and build on it next campaign.
Sure. Jonathan, I really, really appreciate you joining me. Just before I let you go, what we're doing throughout this loan report is basically ranking or rating, let's say, where we think these loanees are going to end up and what their future is, from definitely gone to likely leaving, 50-50, has a future, or they're going to be a first teamer. If I were just to ask you very quickly on William Saliba, what you think his future is at Arsenal, you think he'll be a first teamer?
I think he has a future, and I think whether or not he's a first teamer or not will depend more on Arteta than him.
Sure. Okay. Jonathan, thank you very, very much for joining. Just let everyone know as well where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on once more. Best place to find all of my work is on Twitter, so at @JON_Legosip, and that's where you'll find the majority of my
Amazing.
CBS work.
We'll get that popping up on the screen right now as well, and in the description. Big thanks again, Jonathan.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot. Speak soon.
Cheers. Right, and on to the other loan players, starting with a goalkeeper that's been out on loan, Runar Alex Runnison, who's been on loan at OH Leuven in the Belgium League. Listen, this is a player who came in for, I think, 2 million. We sold Emi Martinez, we said that Bernd Leno was going to be the number one, and we brought in Runnison. And look, he struggled. He really did struggle. I don't think his loan spell here, when I just read off some of the bullet points, suggests that he's coming back to challenge for that backup spot. Started a lot of his time there was spent on the bench at the beginning, but he did then end up playing all but 2 games in the league from match day 16. His side finished 11th in the Jupiler League, made to the quarterfinals of the Belgium Cup, and managed to register 2 clean sheets in his time there. I just think this is, I said, in the ratings, I think he's definitely gone. I think he'll get another move, whether it's a loan or a permanent deal. I think this is just one that just hasn't worked. I wish him all the best of luck. But when you look at Matt Turner coming in as well, Aaron Ramsdale, Bernd Leno is going to be going, but that's hardly complete or set in stone. I think Runnison's probably off, and Okonkwo's been the third choice. So, that's it for Runnison. Had a decent loan, but nothing that I think Arsenal are going to take much notice of. Now on to 3 other players that I really want to talk about. Hector Bellerin, Pablo Mari and Lucas Torreira. Let's start with Hector Bellerin, because this is a player that I rated so highly until his knee injury, and I just felt he never rediscovered the same form since. Went to Betis, And I've got to say, he's had a good loan spell. 23 appearances, 2 assists. That's 23 in the league, I believe. 2 assists in that time. Lost to Frankfurt, the eventual Europa League winners, in the round of 16 there. But they did beat Valencia in the Copa del Rey final on penalties. He managed to get an assist in a 1-1 draw before that went to pens. And I think he's really found a home there. Now, having just said I think he's found a home there, supposedly... It's, you know, he said his goodbyes. It doesn't look like he's going to be staying there. So where does he go beyond Arsenal? What does his future look like? I'm rating his future, or judging it, let's say, as I think he's likely leaving. I don't think it's set in stone. I think he's definitely gone. I think the right-back position's still been a little bit of a problem one for Arsenal, where you've basically got Cedric, who's covered a lot, but he's been iffy, but also been a better backup than people expected him to be. Still not the answer. You've got Tomiyasu, who's a complete different profile to Cedric, but has had injury problems this year. Quite a few of them as well in 2022. And then what are you left with? I mean, Hector Bellerin. I wouldn't be surprised if Arteta has a look at him in pre-season, but I do think he's likely leaving, and I think that is best for him. So, be interesting to keep an eye on that one. Pablo Mari, fellow Spaniard who's been playing for Udinese in Serie A. And listen, he was a regular in his time there. He went in January. Once we were at the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, and it was basically just Premier League football through to the end, with Rob Holding there as well. Tomiyasu could play centre-back, though he's been injured a lot. Pablo Mari, since a bit of a disaster to start to the season, just hasn't been in favour with Mikel Arteta. Scored 2 goals in his time with Udinese, finished 12th in the league. But I don't think it's as subtle as that he might be likely leaving. I think he's definitely gone. That's how I rate this one. Because having started a lot of last season, or the first 3 games of last season, something happened, something switched, and Arteta just didn't turn to him again. I think he might have played a Carabao Cup game, maybe against Wimbledon, but we barely saw Mari after that. I think even Kolasinac played centre-back against West Brom over him. So I don't know what's happened with him, but I just think the relationship there, I'm speculating, but as a player that Arteta originally signed, played quite a lot in the 2021 season, suddenly he's not getting any game time. That feels very strange to me. So I think he's definitely gone. But Lucas Torreira is an interesting one. This is a player who, with Fiorentina, finished 7th in the league. He's been there the whole stretch, the whole 9-10 months of the season. He's managed to score 5 goals and register 2 assists in 31 appearances. He's won multiple Player of the Month awards. And he's been... maybe revelation's a strong word, but he's been really good for them. We signed him from Serie A, from Sampdoria, I believe. I thought he had a good first season at Arsenal. I thought second season, both Arteta and Emery used him incorrectly. Didn't really work for him. Atletico Madrid, though, wasn't part of a squad that won the league. And Fiorentina's done really, really well. I'm really happy for him. I like Torreira. I think there's a real player there. What I think is going to happen to him, I think he's likely leaving. I think he's likely on his way, simply because Arteta, I think, has had enough time to really think about him. When you look at the lack of real quality in midfield, I think if you felt Torreira could offer something we don't have, I think we'd have seen more of him. El Neni signed a new 1-year deal. I think Torreira is definitely leaving. But where this gets complicated is, having had a great time with Fiorentina, it doesn't look like they're going to be able to match the financial package it's going to take to get Lucas Torreira there permanently. Though I think he might have said or hinted on social media that those reports aren't necessarily true. So we'll keep an eye on it. I think he's likely leaving. I don't think he's definitely gone, not with Europa League football coming back and all that. You know, there's always a need for squad depth, but I do think he is likely leaving. Now, 2 others I want to talk about. Hale End graduates, Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Reese Nelson. I have a very similar feeling about both these players. Let me break them down. From Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who featured quite a bit in the first half of the season, very much a squad player, very much filling in, very much coming in when there were injuries. I thought played well in midfield when he did, when he did get his opportunities. Remember, he had the loan at West Brom in the second half of last season, had this loan with Roma at the second half of this season. It's not really worked for him, I have to say. He played the first 6 games at the club. and only made 2 appearances in his last 12 league games with Roma. But not one of those appearances came as a central midfielder, which was, look, I don't know if it was rumour or if it was confirmed by him that he wanted to be a midfielder, he wanted a chance in midfield. That's very much what he was playing for Arsenal in the first half of the season when he was getting his opportunities. But he's not had that chance at Roma, and it looks like Mourinho fell out of love with him quite quickly. I'm not saying he ever loved him as a player, but you bring him in January. You're always excited about January signings. They're there to make an impact immediately, and he very quickly decided that clearly it wasn't for him. He's made a few appearances since. He's a Conference League finalist, and that's the interesting thing. Reese Nelson's side finalled the opponent in that final, but it's not really gone great for him, for Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I think there's a talented player there. I do. I don't think he'd have come in and done any worse than, or any better than Lokonga, for example, when he's had to fill in. And by the way, I like Lokonga a lot. El Neni, I think maybe he's got that experience, but other than that, is he more talented than Ainsley? I'm not sure. In my rating, and remember, I'm rating these as definitely gone, likely leaving, 50-50, has a future, or first teamer. I actually think it's 50-50 with Ainsley, because I think there's a chance that with Europa League football back, the depth at right back being iffy, the depth at left back definitely being iffy, I think there's a chance, especially with Tierney and Tavares having to play as more inverted fullbacks recently, I think there's a chance Ainsley Maitland-Niles comes and plays as just that filler who can slot in at right back, slot in at left back, slot in midfield, can be used in different areas, is going to be an asset in Europe. I think there's a chance he stays, and I think there's a chance Maitland-Niles looks at it and goes, well, I've had an opportunity in the Premier League and I wasn't picked up after that. I've had an opportunity in Serie A with Roma and it's not really worked. Do I give it one last crack at Arsenal? And if Arsenal are going in the right direction, is being a squad player for Arsenal and fighting to be a first teamer the worst thing? I don't know. I'll put that to you guys. Let me know in the comment section. I'll make that the comment as well that we pin. Does Ainsley Maitland-Niles have a future at Arsenal? I have a feeling next season, for at least a year, I think he certainly could. And that brings me on to Reese Nelson. Again, Conference League finalist. 31 appearances for Feyenoord. While I've not followed him too closely, the rhetoric around him is he's grown into it. And the last, sort of, let's say, second half of the season, people have seen a lot more of the Reese Nelson they expect and what he's about. He has been playing out on the wing. He's been a starter in their Conference League campaign. As I mentioned, 4 goals and 8 assists in 31 appearances. And he's really been a regular for them. I think they finished 3rd in the Eredivisie. So, he's been a regular staple part of a very decent side. I'm going to rate his future as 50-50. I'm leaning towards likely leaving, but I think we lack a little bit of depth out on the wing. I know Smith Rowe can play on the left and has done, but I think it's a difficult one. I think he does better in central areas. Bukayo Saka, we've seen the burnout. Martinelli, that we were depending on him so much. I just think that come Europa League football, I think Reese Nelson might be ready to kind of be our main man in the group stages and the early rounds of the knockout. Listen, maybe he builds on that talent he showed in the Eredivisie for Feyenoord and becomes that winger we want him to be. I have my doubts about that, but Arsenal need to be thinking about a padded out squad that can do the business in Europe and in the Cups while challenging for top 4 again. So many people have been saying, well, yeah, Arsenal did challenge for the top 4 because they're 1 game a week. Let's show them that it's not because of that. It's because that first team, when they're all together, have real talent. So will he want to come and prove himself, fight for his place? We'll see, but I'm putting it down as a 50-50 whether he stays at Arsenal or not. All right, the last 2. Again, 2 hail enders, but at a much earlier stage in their development, much earlier stage in their Arsenal careers. Let's start with Folarin Balogun. His side, Middlesbrough, missed out promotion. He went there in January, and I remember Arteta saying, you know what? He deserved the loan opportunity sooner. He was too good for the level he was playing in. I mean, I was looking on Transfermarkt at some of the some of his records for the in the Premier League too and stuff. I mean, this guy's scoring goals for fun in the reserve side, and went to the Championship, scored 3 goals and registered 3 assists in 18 Championship games. Helped knock out Spurs of the FA Cup, so big thanks for that, Bellerin. But he didn't play as much towards the end of the season. I'm talking the last maybe 4 to 6 games. He didn't feature quite as regularly. I don't know whether there was some niggly injury issues, or maybe they moved away from sort of having him in the 11 as regularly as they did before. I think he showed moments of talent. I think he showed his explosiveness. I think he showed he's got a goal in him. I think he showed he's got that talent and that inventiveness. But I don't think it's been a loan spell that that makes you go, he's ready. Get him in that first team. We talk about Lacazette and Aubameyang being gone, maybe Eddie and Nketiah too. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't think we see Bellerin as slotting in easily into one of those 3 spots. But does he have talent? Absolutely, which is why I'm sort of rating him and his future at Arsenal quite literally has a future. I think he's got a future. I think he will be a part of the squad. I think he will become the player we hope he can be. I'm having my doubts as I say that. Look, I think there's a talented player there. I think he'll go out and get another loan, and hopefully he shows what he can do. But sometimes it takes a few loans. Sometimes it takes a few moves to really settle into it, and then you start to really show everyone what you're about. And he is young, and for a striker who's very young, how many strikers around the league do you see at the age of 20, 21 being depended on to score for their club? So I think Bellerin will get another loan move. And another one, he's quite a few years younger, at 18 years old, is Brooke Norton-Cuffy. Norton-Cuffy went down to League One and has stormed it. I mean, he's done brilliantly for the second half of the season. He's been a regular starter. He's a powerful dribbler. He's one of those, I think he stands at 6 foot, maybe slightly taller, but he's a powerful player, that kind of modern fullback who gets forward. I think he's got the physical stature to hold his own in the Premier League. Is he ready? Has he got the experience? Is he ready mentally to raise himself to that level? We'll see. But this is my most controversial one of the lot. I think he's going to be a first teamer next season. Now, I don't think he's going to be in the first 11 starting every week, but I mentioned the right back problems we've got from Maitland-Niles could fill there, but does he want to be that guy? Hector Bellerin, it feels it's gone stale for him and he'll probably get another move. With Norton-Cuffy, I could see Arteta thinking, you know what, we'll keep Cedric another year because he could play right and left back. And Norton-Cuffy might just be the answer to give some game time in the Cup, give some game time in the Europa League, and just see if he surprises us and develops into maybe a first teamer that none of us were expecting him to become quite so early on. I think the loan spell has really taken people by surprise. And I remember meeting someone, it's not exactly a big deal, but I won't say where. It was just at a sports journalism event, and he basically said Brooke Norton-Cuffy is the best talent in the Arsenal academy. And then I look at what he's done since he's left, and I think that's the guy I think we keep an eye on, and the one youngster that I think might be knocking on that first team door next season and saying, listen, give me that opportunity in the Europa League and then I'll show you what I can do in the Premier League. So we'll see. That right back position is a bit of a problem position for Arsenal. Has been for a while. We thought we'd address it with Tomiyasu, but I think Tomiyasu going to need that summer off to really recover from these injuries, and then we'll see what happens next season. Alright guys, that's been the loan report. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've got a little bit there about how the players have done, but more so just some sort of discussion around what future they might have at the club. A big thanks again to Jonathan Johnson. Go check him out. The details are in the description below to find out where you can see his work. His thoughts on William Saliba, I think they resonate with me. When I look at everything I've heard Arteta say, when I've seen what's been said in the media, I think the direction Arsenal are going in, I think Jonathan's got it absolutely spot on. So I'm really excited to see what William Saliba can do next season. So guys, let us know in the comment section. As I said, the pinned question in the comments will be Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Does he have a surprise future at Arsenal that perhaps people weren't expecting? And also let me know your thoughts on William Saliba and whether he's going to be a first teamer over Ben White or Gabriel next year. I think that's going to be a competitive battle for those centre-back spots. Big thanks again. Check out all the content coming out this week on AFTV as always. Big thank you. See you next time.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.